The basic framework of RTI utilizes high-quality, scientifically based classroom instruction, ongoing student assessment, and tiered instruction. Because there are many approaches to implementing RTI, it can be utilized across grade levels to promote student success, including elementary, middle, and high school. Although RTI has been commonly associated with the elementary level, educators are beginning to expand RTI to secondary schools. While RTI can promote student success and academic progress at the secondary level, there are many challenges that come along with implementation.
One of the biggest challenges at the secondary level would be the schedule. The schedule is typically fixed and it's designed for the building.
The primary challenge to RTI in secondary school is the schedule because the kids are moving every 45 minutes and they're required to have specific courses at any given time in their schedule. It does create a challenge.
At the secondary level, some of the challenges you run into involve the schedule, first of all. There are many more courses that are required and they're divided up into periods. So that presents a challenge in and of itself as to how do you shift around to make sure you have enough time in your schedule to provide the services that you need.
So scheduling is a big part of this system, and that's why it's important to have administration on board, because they need to realize that some things might have to shift. So if we need to put an intervention time in place, the schedule might have to change. If we need to put some data days in to the schedule, then the district calendar might have to change.
Because the nature of the schedule at the secondary level presents a challenge for implementing an RTI model, schools have developed a unique structure to support a three-tiered model of supports.
Now we have to talk about interventions because there's a lot of misconceptions about interventions. From elementary all the way up to secondary, that interventions are kind of an activity, but really interventions should show those small intervals of growth. So finding that for the secondary level is difficult.
We've treated our Tier 2 interventions, in reading in particular, like a specials class, like art or music. So it follows a similar sort of schedule to that, so that way we're able to offer it to students without having necessarily a significant impact on their schedule. So what we have done as well to sort of address that, and I grant you it's not an ideal solution, is that our students have what is called a flex period, which is kind of like a study hall every day. So we have pushed the math intervention service into that interval, so that way students then come out, because every grade level has a flex period at a different time, which means the math interventionist is available at those different times.
While keeping these core aspects of scheduling in mind, schools have utilized intervention blocks to provide increasing levels of supports for students based on their individualized needs. These intervention blocks supplement Tier 1 instruction, and students receive additional supports while they continue to participate in core instruction time in the classroom.
Scheduling really hasn't been a big deal at the high school for our math intervention program, because we just have two teachers that teach basically all these courses, and so they can be offered throughout the entire day. They're not confined to just one period. So it really gives the students a lot of room in their schedules to figure out where these classes are going to fit. Our enrichment classes occur every other day. So we also have biology as well as English enrichment classes. And so, for example, if they need math and biology, they might have math on even days and bio on odd days, but they would occur during the same period. So it would only take up one period in the student's schedule.
The use of these intervention blocks allow for mobility between tiers, or different levels of support based on student need. Movement between tiers allows for students to receive more intensive instruction if necessary, and also allows students to exit intervention classes once they've made adequate progress. Mobility between tiers is important to appropriately meet the needs of students, and it can also help to increase student motivation.
Any child can move at any time. We try to have it happen. If we're going to make a big change in a student's schedule, we generally try to do it at a natural interval. It might be at a marking period. It might be the change of a unit in a particular content area, so that way we're not disrupting things. Because oftentimes we're moving them out of Tier 2, for example. If they've done well, they're moving out. We have to move them to something.
Once students are placed into the appropriate interventions based on their needs, the RTI team is responsible for monitoring student data and progress.
Data meetings include the teacher providing the intervention, special education teachers, school psychologist, school counselor, and also an administrator. And in our high school, the administrator that's in charge is typically the assistant principal.
Data should be monitored and analyzed as a team, such as using a PLC.
PLC is a professional learning community. The idea is that you have an opportunity to collaborate with your peers who are teaching the same grade level and who are teaching basically the same content. It allows you the opportunity to review lesson plans, to review academic standards, to review formative and summative assessments. All the teachers have to look at data. That's just part of their job. The teachers don't only have a prep period, they also have a PLC and team period built into their schedule. Every other day they either have a PLC or a team. That provides us with an opportunity to help our instructional coach get in with some of those PLCs or those instructional teams to really help teachers understand what their data is a little bit more.
The secondary model tends to engage in things like PLCs a lot. So the teams already have embedded time where they're meeting together. So what we've done is looked at, rather than have standalone data days, data analysis teaming meeting days that are sort of set aside as almost like events to say we're going to look at your data now, we're going to look at your data now, is that we have embedded that within the context of the PLCs. So that way the teachers are looking at that universal screening data right off the bat, the progress monitoring data, and then what they can do within the classroom on a continuous basis.
The guidance counselor serves a crucial role, serving as a liaison between the instructional team for students and the support team of specialists that are able to find resources and supports to be able to send back to the instructional team as a universal intervention that they might use before a student might need to seek out a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 intervention. And this is really about the big picture, and this is about the whole child. And this is about creating a data point for students so that we can better understand what their needs are and how we can better support them. That in the long term will help them to use their time more efficiently or more effectively.
In an RTI context, focus on scientifically based instruction means that teachers will be encouraged to examine their teaching practices and to differentiate instruction to enhance student learning. While RTI can be effective at the secondary level and holds promise for addressing the challenges teachers face in educating adolescents, teachers may be hesitant or skeptical in accepting a change in their approach to instruction.
We introduced it, operationally defining the components of RTI. Then we put it all together and said, hey, guess what, guys? We're doing RTI.
And a lot of teachers know that it's going on in the elementary schools, and they're asking, what is it that they're doing? Because now these kids are moving up who have been in that sort of process, that framework, for sometimes their whole elementary careers, and they're moving up to the middle schools, and now teachers are asking, what did they do and what can we do? How can we replicate that system to better meet the needs of our middle school and high school students? A lot of teachers are hesitant to jump on board, but if we can say, you know what, there's another school in this region who is using RTII MTSS at the secondary level, let's take a field trip over there and let's see what they're doing. That has been extremely helpful.
A lot of our folks have really bought into the idea of primary prevention and seeing RTI as being a great idea in that we're working with students before it becomes an issue.
Although implementing RTI at the secondary level is complex and challenging, It is possible.
My suggestion for beginning a process of implementing RTI at the secondary level is to plan slowly, but not delay. The planning needs to include all relevant players. So anyone that might be involved with the RTI process at the high school should be involved from the very beginning.
If you're going to make the commitment to implement RTI at the secondary level, you need to make the full commitment, which means everything's on the table for potential change. That includes your staffing patterns as well as your schedule.
I would really encourage people to start small. Oftentimes, schools will want to jump in with all 3 tiers, doing reading and mathematics interventions, and at some points they actually try to add in the behavioral component as well. It's just too much. If you start small and if you really work on helping the teachers to understand the big picture.
And so what we tend to do is not shy away from the pushback, but try to meet it head on. We engage the folks who are the most vocal in pushing back and say, clearly there's some sort of misunderstanding. Tell us exactly why it is you're struggling with what we're recommending and what's being suggested. And let's talk about that. Doing something on this scale at a system level, it is extraordinarily helpful to have folks that are the naysayers or the ones throwing up obstacles, because it helps you think more sharply and clearly about what it is you're trying to do and anticipate the actual obstacles that might present themselves.
And if you can meet people where they are and basically share with them that you understand the frustrations that they're feeling, you know they have many priorities and you certainly respect where they're at, but you have to look at the whole operation, not just one particular class. People tend to get that.
Although there are many formats for how a school might implement RTI to best serve the needs of its students, in every case, RTI can be a school-wide framework for efficiently allocating resources to improve student outcomes.